Where should Derek Carr rank in a QB power ranking? Look, we don't want to be the show that just has hot takes all the time. But looking on Twitter, we found the CBS QB Power Ranking, and it has Derek Carr ranked at 26, one spot behind J.J. McCarthy. What do we think about this? And honestly, realistically speaking, where should Derek Carr be ranked among the other quarterbacks?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. It's a good question. Look, I think 26 is a little bit low. I mean, for instance, like if we're going just straight up for this upcoming season, because this isn't a dynasty fantasy draft ranking. So if we're going for just the upcoming season, let's go down the list here. Like, I don't have any problem with Aaron. Does anybody got a problem with Rodgers?
So you're starting at 11.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was on the wrong side.
I mean, there's
Mahomes.
The top 10 is fine.
I have no issue with Mahomes.
The top 10 is fine?
Top 10 is fine to all be ahead of
I don't like the order. I don't like the order.
No, I know, but they're fine to all be ahead of Carr.
Yeah,
so
Mahomes,
we're talking specifically Carr.
Mahomes, Purdy, Allen, Burrow, C.J. Stroud, Lamar, Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, Jordan Love. I'm okay with that. I mean, Jordan Love, I think, is way too high on this list. Myself.
Yeah, I think so. And Brock Purdy's way too high.
Definitely
way too high on that list.
Way
but
too
they're
high.
ahead of Carr.
Yeah, sure. I'm fine with that. Aaron Rodgers, I'm fine with. Tua is a maybe. Tua's a maybe.
I'm okay with him being ahead of Carr, but yeah, you're getting into maybe territory.
Tua's a maybe. Goff, I'm putting Goff ahead of him.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins is a sure, he's ahead of him, but not by much.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence, I think, is the most overrated quarterback in the NFL right now. But I mean, I'm okay with him being ahead of Carr. I'd take him before Carr. Just the upside is there.
Right.
He needs to have another good season badly, though. I think. I mean, he's kind of riding off the stature. Stafford, I'd put ahead of him. Deshaun, I would not.
I probably wouldn't, and I rather would have Carr than him. But Watson has done things in the NFL that Carr hasn't. I mean, I get why Watson's ahead of him, but Watson needs to show us something pretty soon if he's not going to just drop to the bottom of that list.
I mean, it's been
it's been a while.
It's been going on 5 years now since I've seen something from him. So I definitely got Derek Carr. I had Deshaun Watson. I can't do it. I mean, look, the numbers the last 2 years. He's appeared in 12 games, 59 completion percentage, 14 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Like, get out of here. No way. No way. All right. Geno.
Now we're in the tier. Geno, Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield. Like, I'm surprised.
I'm taking Carr before Geno.
I'm taking Carr before Geno. I think what Geno did 2 years ago was better than a lot of things Carr has done, but Geno has only had one career season like that. Carr's had 4 or 5 really quality seasons. So yeah, I get it. I get giving them a similar rating, but I'm putting Carr ahead of him too.
I don't know what to do with Russell.
Yeah.
I mean, if you gave me the choice between the two of them, it's tough. Like Russell, like you feel like you could maybe capture something there still.
Mm-hmm.
Right. His ceiling has shown that he can reach another level.
Yeah, I was discounting Matthew Stafford too soon a couple years ago, and then he came back and he's way too low on this list actually right now.
But I could see him being clustered together.
Sure.
I'm going to take Carr before Baker. I'm sorry.
Baker had
Carr
a much better
Baker.
year last year. If you're going with a recency bias sort of thing, I get it. But this is kind of all over the map. Some of this is, why is Russell Wilson ahead of Carr when he hasn't been good in 3 years, and Baker Mayfield's ahead of Carr when he's only had one good year, but it was last year. So that's weird, yeah.
I'm taking Kyler before him, but I'm taking Kyler before a lot of other people on this list as well. I think he's way too low. 21 feels kind of nuts for him. I mean, like I know there's been some ups and downs, but I would definitely take Kyler before Carr.
Yeah.
Will Levis, that's the
No
most
way.
preposterous ranking on this list. Like, I get Caleb Williams being ahead of him because there's excitement. I even almost get Anthony Richardson, even though I'm not putting him there.
Yeah, no way.
I even almost get Jalen Daniels. I mean, if you're talking about like upside and excitement, but how is Will Levis possibly ahead of Caleb Williams and Jalen Daniels and Drake? Like, Will Levis? Where did that come from? That's weird.
Insane. It's insane. I think Anthony Richardson is insane.
Yeah, J.J. McCarthy is double insane.
It makes no sense at all. J.J. McCarthy being ahead of Jaden Daniels doesn't make a lot of sense to me either. Like, are we rating teams, offenses, or quarterbacks? Like, I just don't.
Well, then Will Levis doesn't get any credit. That's a terrible offense.
I don't like. How the hell is J.J. McCarthy?
Well, let's have two different conversations real quick. The other veterans, they did get this right. Brissett's behind him, and Daniel Jones is behind him. Those are the only two veterans behind him. So let's have a separate discussion on where he should rank against like a Caleb Williams in a minute. But just going with the veterans, I think we all agreed the top 16, we get why the top 16 are ahead of Carr, and you would put Kyler Murray ahead of Carr too, 17. So you think once we get to about 18, we're in the Carr tier. Your order with Geno Smith, Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield gets a little cloudy, but he could be about 18th.
I don't think you should be any lower than 20th.
Yeah.
I think 20th is about where you could be. I'm fine with 18.
18, 20. Yeah, look, if you're the kind of person that says, no, show it to me. I want to put Baker ahead of Carr because these guys are all in a tier. Give me the guy who just did it last year. Maybe. But then you can't put Russell Wilson ahead of him. Yeah, like Russell Wilson and Geno weren't good last year. So, like, it depends on what your criteria is, but he's probably 19th, 20th.
Yeah, and I think and I think he could be better. But like, let's look at how insane this list gets. Like, so you got JJ McCarthy, then Derek Carr, then Jacoby Brissett, then Jaden Daniels. Like, why? Like, how is it?
How is Jacoby Brissett?
Right. Yeah, why is he jumping in there? Like, why is Jaden lower than McCarthy? Like, I just don't.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you want to make a statement that you think JJ McCarthy's better than him? Cool, but like Jacoby Brissett.
What has he done?
Oh, I forgot to mention Gardner Minshew. They did put Carr ahead of Gardner Minshew too. All right, I think we agree that we put Carr ahead of every young guy who hasn't done anything except maybe Caleb Williams. So give me this. First of all, what would you rather? Who would you rather be right now? Would you rather be the Saints with Derek Carr or the Bears with Caleb Williams? What situation would you rather have?
Oh, I'd rather have Caleb Williams.
Me too.
No.
How far does that go? Is that true of Drake May? Is that true of Jaden Daniels? Or is it just Caleb Williams? That's an obvious yes.
Yeah, it's an obvious yes. If you're asking me that I want to be the Washington Commanders, no.
No, but it's the Saints. If the Saints had, for whatever reason, through a previous trade or something, if the Saints had the number 2 pick
give me Jaden.
You'd take Jaden. What about Drake May?
Yeah, give me Drake May.
Okay, JJ McCarthy.
Sure.
Saints could have traded up and taken JJ McCarthy. He went 3 picks ahead of him.
Yeah, but I mean, you're asking me in either or. Like, you're not asking me.
You'd rather be the team that has all 4 of those guys.
Yeah, the young guy.
Will Levis. They could have taken him last year easily.
No, because I feel like I've seen Will Levis, and you're gonna chase it and get stuck in hell. So, like, the upside is best case scenario probably is Carr. So just give me Carr.
Bryce Young.
Yeah, I'd take Bryce Young.
Bryce Young.
Yeah. I'd still do it, even though I think there's a high possibility of bust. Like, there's still enough there that it feels like if you did it. But here's the problem with Bryce Young: like, you can't block right now. Like, you need the offensive line for Bryce Young to work. So.
We're talking like what you'd like to be if you have your team that you're building the way you want it to. I'm a little torn because even as recently as like 2 years ago, I was the young guy, but my jaw has hit the ground with what is happening to these elite draft picks that are being given up on after less than 2 years. I mean. Would we have sat here a year ago and said we'd take Kenny Pickett or Mac Jones? And now they were getting traded for 6th-round picks, and they're almost out of the league.
Yeah.
2 of these guys on this list are going to be the next Kenny Pickett and Mac Jones and Justin Fields.
There might be all 4 of them. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a high chance of Bryce Young even.
When do you want just and we're calling Carr the 20th best quarterback in the league. When do you want the 20th best quarterback in the league versus the lottery ticket that you know has 50% chance of paying off at best?
Well, here's the problem with it. The question, though, is like nobody knows.
Yeah.
And everybody that gets it wrong would rather have Derek Carr, but you don't end up with the guy.
If you get it
you
right,
don't end up with the chance.
You want your chance at CJ
Carr.
Stroud. You want your chance at CJ Stroud.
And look, I mean, I think they were probably pissed they didn't get Bryce Young. Like, and they ended up getting it right, and the Panthers probably got it wrong. But that's the problem with it's a 50-50 proposition at best, picking in the top 5 at a quarterback, and you don't get one if you got Carr, and if you end up with a bad egg, like, you'd rather have Derek Carr for sure.
And then the alternate, obviously the Saints picked 14th, that puts them in a different tier. But if you are a team who picked Jaden Daniels or Drake May and you had a Derek Carr, the Lions with Jared Goff is a perfect example. Now you're drafting Joe Alt or Marvin Harrison Jr. And or Penei Sewell or Aiden Hutchinson, and that's almost about. I mean, this is a tough. And I'm not just trying to defend Derek Carr here. Maybe people don't want Derek Carr. Call it Kirk Cousins. Call it Jared Goff. Call it Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield, whoever, if you like any of those guys, Geno Smith, would you rather be the team that just we're all in now on Drake May or JJ McCarthy or Bo Nix, who we haven't even mentioned, or we're going to try to follow the model and build around a Jared Goff type? It's interesting. It's an interesting debate. I almost lean toward Carr against a list like this, but the counterpoint is these guys are all cheaper too.
Yeah. I think the thing is, though, is if you have the chance to Jaden Daniels, Drake May, especially those two, like
Drake May and Jaden Daniels.
You give up Derek Carr.
They'd be my top two choices.
You trade if someone offered you straight up trade for one of them, like that's the biggest steal of all time. So you're taking them every time. You're going to chase it with them, and if you're wrong, you're wrong. But you can't be great if you just don't chase it with the opportunity. So I think going down the list, like I would chase it with any one of these guys over Carr. And it's not a knock on Carr. It's just like there's a possibility of upside where you already know what the ceiling is on Derek, and maybe JJ McCarthy, ends up being
right.
great.
You don't know
maybe
if
Drake
he's a
May.
generational talent or not.
Yeah, you don't. So, and the only way to find out is to play the game. So I think the only way you build around a Carr is or a Goff or whatever, is if you kind of get stuck in that situation and there's no way to get the path to the better quarterback, and you don't want to rip your roster apart to get there. So
the Saints could have had JJ McCarthy just by trading up with a second rounder. So
well, if you already have Carr, you probably don't do that. But if you don't have Carr,
if you don't have Carr,
but you also like if you're sitting here right now and you would say, would you rather go into the season with Derek Carr or JJ? I'm taking JJ. Yeah. Like I'd rather just find out what he has.
Find out.
Yeah,
and he's cheap.
I don't know that I give up on Derek to gamble on JJ McCarthy.
You get that extra $30 million to spend too.
But if we're starting from blank, like I'm gonna take the young guy for sure.
Makes sense.
Now let's go to what it will look like about Carr's contemporaries, the people that are in the league that have money guaranteed and everything like that. Who would you take?
We talked a little about this while we were formulating the list. If we're talking same team situation, they're all free agents and you can sign them to your team. We're not talking about who's in the best offense and all that. I tend to think Carr's better than Baker. I tend to think Cousins is better than Carr. Up until last year, I wasn't convinced Goff was in a different tier, but you can't deny what he's done now, but obviously has great pieces around him, a great offensive coordinator. Geno and Carr are pretty similar, but like I said, Geno's only done it once. So I'd probably go Cousins. Not Cousins coming off the Achilles, but Cousins when he was healthy. Goff 2, Carr 3, Geno 4, Baker 5.
I go healthy Cousins, injured Cousins, whatever. I'm taking Goff first out of this whole list. Then I'm going Cousins. Then I'm going Carr. Then I'm going Baker. Then I'm going Geno.
Okay.
I don't know, man. I might be the only person in here to show love to Geno, but I think with the pieces he had in Seattle and the moves he was able to make, Geno probably can change the outcome of some of those games last year. Granted, Carr was hurt for a good portion, but I think they're in the same atmosphere, and I think Geno, with a healthy line and some standouts at receivers, he can make a move.
Yeah, we did a show once where we had their salaries listed up there, and Geno's only making like 25 or 27. If you're giving me a discount on Geno, I think it's close enough between them. I'd make that argument. But if I'm paying the same exact dollar amount, I'm slightly higher on Carr than Geno just because he's done it more times. But I agree. What Geno did 2 years ago was fantastic.
2 years ago, 1 year though. He had 1 year. He had 1 year.
He only did it once.
1 year. Yeah. I mean, that's the problem. He hit 64% of his passes last year, but it was a 20-9 touchdown to interception ratio. He fell off without the coach. Like it was a thing. So I think you could flip flop Baker and Geno or whatever, but I think there's a top 3 here on this list for me.